Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Morning Blitz with Al Galdi web series. I'm the producer, Cy Fenwick. On today's episode, Al Galdi takes a closer look at Gregg Williams' time with the Redskins. Gregg Williams was the assistant head coach and looked over the defense of the Redskins from 2004 to 2007. Galdi takes a look at the Redskins' defenses over that period and explains why Gregg Williams' defenses were overrated. Enjoy!
It was a win, but it is hard to forget how bad the Redskins' defense was in that second game against Philadelphia this season. The win over the Eagles while the Skins were in the midst of that playoff push. Great to have you with us here on the Morning Blitz. And then you heard the words right there of the since fired Joe Barry as Skins defensive coordinator. So I promised you some revelations when it comes to Gregg Williams' Redskins defenses, and let's get into those here right now. So Gregg will not be coming back to the Redskins. He was hired to be Cleveland's defensive coordinator over the weekend. And I thought with Gregg's name coming up, at least initially when it came to potential candidates to replace Barry, I thought this would be a good opportunity to get into this topic right here. Let's get into Gregg Double G Williams. Gregg Williams. So he officially was the Redskins' assistant head coach in charge of defense for 4 seasons, 2004 through 2007. He technically was not the Redskins' defensive coordinator. Greg Blash was. But those, of course, were Gregg Williams' defenses. And those defenses, in my opinion, have been overrated over the years. I've gotten a kick over the years at how Gregg Williams' time here has morphed into, what Buddy Ryan did with the Chicago Bears in the 80s. Calm down a little bit on this. Just because your defenses don't stink doesn't mean that they were great. And there are 2 things to forever remember about Gregg Williams' Redskins defenses, okay? Number 1, Gregg presided over not just a really bad defense, not just one of the worst defenses in Redskins history, but one of the worst defenses in NFL history. And that's not an exaggeration. The 2006 Redskins defense, a special kind of awful, a unique brand of putrid. 2006 was the 3rd season of Joe Gibbs' second go-round as Skins head coach. The Skins went 5-11 that season, and they went 5-11 thanks in large part to their defense, which included the likes of Lamar Marshall and Warwick Holdman, and yes, Adam Archuleta. This was the Archuleta season, 2006. The 2006 Redskins set an NFL record for fewest takeaways in a 16-game season. 12. 12 takeaways the entire season. 12 takeaways the entire season. That's what that Skins defense in 06 gave you. Also, the 2006 Redskins finished dead last in the NFL in total defense per Football Outsiders. I will never forget being at FedEx Field for the Redskins' final game that season, a 34-28 loss to the Giants on a Saturday night, and watching Tiki Barber rush for 234 yards and 3 touchdowns on 23 carries. 234 and 3 scores on 23 carries. Yes, Tiki averaged more than 10 yards per carry in that game. It was the final regular season game of his career. I cannot think of a better way to cap a regular season career than a game like that. 23 for 234 and 3 scores. Look, there was a lot that went into why that 2006 Redskins defense was so bad, but understand that the man in charge of that defense was Gregg Williams. That happened under his watch. A defense that bad. 12 takeaways, dead last in the league in total defense, and capable of giving you some just jaw-droppingly bad performances a la Tiki in the final game of that season. Second thing to remember about Gregg Williams' time with the Redskins, because you might say, well, that's one really bad year, all right? Second thing to remember is this. His defenses were not at all playmaking defenses. Now, I will give Williams credit for this. His Redskins defenses did stop teams in 3 of the 4 seasons. If we stick with the methodology of Football Outsiders, the DVOA metric, which I would highly encourage you to use as opposed to things like total yards, which I think can be very misleading, all right? 2004, the Skins were 4th. 2005, 4th. 2007, 7th. Those are good, and I'll give Williams credit for that. When it came to what was allowed, Williams' Redskins defenses were quite good in 3 of the 4 seasons. So again, I'll give him props for that. But when it came to what was done, you see, because defense isn't just about what you allow, it's also what you do, i.e. making plays, i.e. sacks, i.e. takeaways. Williams' defenses left a lot to be desired. The Redskins' rankings in sack percentage during Williams' 4 seasons. 2004, 13th. 2005, 24th. 2006, 32nd. Man, did that defense stink. 2007, 27th. You know, for a guy with a reputation for being ultra-aggressive, and man, have I heard that a lot over the years. If Gregg Williams was here, we'd be going after the quarterback. If Gregg Williams was here, we'd be blitzing a ton. If Gregg Williams was here, we'd be racking up the sacks. Remember, kill the head, the body will die from Bountygate? Yeah. Right. Kill the head, the body will die. Well, I tell you, for a guy known for being ultra-aggressive, Williams' Redskins defense sure didn't produce sacks. I mean, again, 13th in 04, 24th in 05, dead last in 06, 27th in 2007. And I'm not going by plain sacks. I'm doing this in a fair way. I'm going by sack percentage, the percentage of defensive plays that result in sacks. And Gregg Williams' defense did not fare well at all when it came to the sack category. And then there are takeaways. And I will grant you that takeaways can be flukish. I will grant you that. But you'd like to think if a guy is good at what he does when it comes to coordinating a defense, that ultimately that defense will produce takeaways, right? Well, the Redskins finished in the bottom half of the NFL in takeaways in 3 of Williams' 4 seasons. I mentioned the all-time worst 12 takeaways in 2006. How about the next season, 2007, what was a Redskins playoff season? That season saw the Skins finish 25th in the NFL with 24 takeaways. Look, I'm not here to tell you that Gregg Williams is a buffoon. I'm not here to tell you that he would not have been an upgrade over what we had last season. What I am here to tell you is this notion that these Gregg Williams defenses were great, that Gregg Williams lorded over this glory era of Redskins defense, it's just wrong, man. Yes, like Will Smith said, tell the truth. I'm trying to give you the truth here. And the truth is, the Skins have had a lot of bad defenses since Williams left. Just because some of his defenses look better by comparison doesn't mean that his time here was some smashing success. It's a lot like the Danny Smith legacy. Danny Smith was here for a long time. Danny Smith was a nice guy. Everyone has good things to say about him. And Danny Smith lasted through multiple coaching staffs. But you can go back and look it up, man. Danny Smith did not preside over some glory era for Redskins special teams. Just because Danny Smith wasn't Keith Burns doesn't mean that his time here was representative of the Skins just killing it on special teams season in and season out. And I think there's a lot of the same thing with Gregg Williams, where just because you're not an F doesn't mean you're an A. You know, there is a middle ground there. And that was more what you had with these Redskins defenses as opposed to the way, again, they are remembered. He's so aggressive, and he didn't take any crap from anybody. He was no nonsense. Really? Really? Because the facts tell you something totally different. Up next, the sad truth that Clemson's win over Alabama hammered home, and big shots, big wins for both the Wizards and Maryland last night. Morning Blitz with Al Galdi.